we are finding out that sometimes our good intentions are foiled by our intimidation. Foiled by our intimidation. Tonight, we are talking specifically about that. Help, my plan isn't working. And do you know that the first level of the plan not working is not opening the email, not downloading the product, not opening the file and actually reading it? Or if you ordered, let's say, a math program that's in print, not reading it, not cracking the spine, not flipping through the pages and getting a sense of what's in the middle, what's at the end, right? Part of the reason our plans don't work is we aren't using them. We're almost waiting for like the magic to sort of find its way into our lives by accident. I've got the math book. If I just open it, I'll just start and then my kids will learn math. I've got the writing program. And when I'm not so nervous, I'll open it. But here's my gentle reminder to you that you have all the time you need. And we're going to talk about what to do to make it easy for you to get started. So when I thought about this notion that my plan isn't working, I realized it's tied a lot to the feeling of overwhelm in 3 key areas. So I'm going to read you those 3 key areas. So the first one is doing too much. The second one is doing the wrong things. And the third one is believing beliefs that don't support you. I want you to determine whether or not your overwhelm is from doing too much, doing the wrong things, or believing beliefs that don't support you. So let's start with doing too much, right? Doing too much. After this webinar, I want you to get out a calculator and I want you to actually do a little math on your day. Here are the things that most of you are trying to fit into a day. I'm just going to read them. And if you've got a sheet of paper and a free hand, you might jot down time quantities like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 35 minutes, if you can. And if not, just do this afterwards. How long does it take to do breakfast? Diaper changes, laundry. Each subject you want to teach to each child each day. Be realistic here, not aspirational. Each child's need for personal attention. How much time does that take? Help getting dressed, feeding them, toothbrushing, reading the lesson to the child, finding the missing dinosaur in the set so the child doesn't throw a tantrum. Like, what amount of time does it take to do those basic functions of meeting their needs? Lunch, snacks, picking up the room. And how many times do you do it in a day? Is it once? Is it 5 times? Is it 3 times? How about getting in some exercise for yourself or a little quiet time to either pray if you're religious or journal or meditate or do yoga? Texts and phone calls that come in and require you to attend to them. Shopping, paying bills. Think about all that list of stuff and how it represents time. And then you say to me, I don't know how to get it all done. Back in the day when I had 5 small children and I was feeling just what you were feeling, I joined this one homeschool group and it was online and they talked about how you could make 6 weeks of meals by dedicating 2 days to food prep and then baking and sauteing and browning ground beef. And then you'd freeze these meals. And then each night at like 5, you'd thaw it and heat it up and eat it. Okay. So this sounded like an amazing plan to me. So I spent 2 days doing all of this stuff, shredding cheese, browning pounds of ground beef, baking chicken and shredding it, shredding cheese, chopping vegetables. It was, holy moly. Have any of you ever done this? It is so much work. And I got it all done. And for about those 6 weeks, until like the last week, the food was kind of gross. But the first 5 weeks, it was kind of a joy. Every day, dinner got done very easily. But when I faced the idea of doing that 2 or 3 day prep again, I could never face it again. It was like killing my soul to even imagine facing those couple of days. And I think a lot of us treat homeschooling the same way. We're like, I'm going to load up on all this curriculum. I'm going to get all these open and go do-it-yourself programs. I'm going to spend a day or two kind of familiarizing me with my stuff. And then the homeschool is just going to be like automated. It's just going to go. It's not really going to need me except to open the books and point to the next page and glance through to make sure they got the right answers. But on week 5, everybody is bored out of their skull. They're like, this is the dullest program. And the thought of like re-upping all that energy to try and make them go through it again starts to dissipate. And then you start feeling like, well, what is my homeschool, right? And I've got all this stuff to get through and I don't know how to make it magical because it's not magical anymore. Just like meals, stop being magical. The other thing that occurred to me as I thought about this quantity of stuff is that I also was a self. I was this adult human being trying to manage a household, trying to have a few minutes to myself each day, trying to nurture, in my case, a writing career, trying to think about how to have some private reflection time, like growth time. Back then, you know, we called them quiet times, but to read a little devotional literature or to inspire myself with some poetry, something that was going to nourish me. And so I went through and I jotted down how much time this stuff took, because these were all things I was being told only took 30 minutes. Here's what I was told. You know, everyone has 30 minutes. So you can have a quiet time in 30 minutes. Everyone has 30 minutes. You can exercise for 30 minutes. You're learning to play guitar. Everyone can practice 30 minutes. It's not like it's 3 hours. Homeschool prep, just do 30 minutes a day. It's not that much. Follow through on the cleaning schedule of the Fly Lady. If I did it over the course of the day, it'd take about 30 minutes. Work on my writing career. I should do free writing every day for 15 to 30 minutes. Menu prep, keeping up with the bills and my budget. Just check in each day, put in all the receipts, all the things I've spent, 30 minutes. Learn about parenting this stage of life. Just read from a book, 30 minutes a day. Okay, do you know how many hours that added up to? Just those things I read you? 4 hours a day. This is why you are not doing all the things. How can you do exercise, managing the household, preparing for homeschool, a little bit of your favorite thing like music or art or writing or, you know, growing tomatoes on top of all the homeschooling? It's not possible. We are playing triage every day with our own lives. We're like, what is the emergency situation? I'm going to attend to that. And we live in a state of emergency at all times. We're like, well, guitar can be on the back burner. And so we never nurture ourselves. We never experience guitar as a relief from the stress of our lives because the stress of our lives is dominating. It's taking up all the time. So what I'd like you to do is just run a little tally, because I want you first to appreciate what absolute super parents you are, how much you actually do get done every day. And the reason you feel overwhelmed and the reason you think you're not doing a good job is you don't have enough hours in the day. It's actually a fact. It is not normal to do food prep, cleaning, educating, nurturing of self, possibly working full or part-time, and to do all of those well and to fit them all in on top of eye contact, connecting, helping a child to scrape their knee, right? Do you start to understand? So what do? What do we eliminate? Okay, I am going to make some suggestions that some of you aren't going to like. So I just want to preface this as Julie's list of things to consider. And when I get provoked by something Julie says, it's not Julie that's the problem. It's the provoked feeling that I need to analyze. Okay, so are you ready? Get ready, because these are my list of things to consider. Number 1, who's doing all the laundry in your family? Is it you? How many people live in your family? Do you have a spouse? Some of you don't. I didn't at one point, but most of you do. So who's doing all the laundry? Is it divided between both of the spouses? does it include children doing laundry? After I did this tally of 4 hours a day of things that I could not fit every single day, I realized laundry was like this unending parade of hardship. And so Noah was in 4th grade. And I decided that day that 4th grade was the year a child learned how to do laundry. And I spent an entire year teaching him. And I did this with each of my children. I did laundry with a 4th grader for a year. So from 4th grade to 5th grade, they did laundry with me, just theirs, not mine. They didn't have to wash anyone else's clothes, just their own. And I would supervise and show them how to do it. And of course, they didn't need my help even 2 months in. But by actually supporting them for a year, I avoided the one key mistake we make in habit building. And it is this: we show our children how to do something. And once they learn how to do it, they lose your valued companionship. And so they lose heart and they want to stop. So the way over that hurdle is to stay connected beyond skill acquisition. Do not abandon them at the point of skill acquisition. Now enjoy their skill and have little chats, help them out, pitch in, give them support for a year so that once the year goes by, now it truly is old hat and they're ready to do it. Now, here's the part that you may not like hearing. Are you ready? You have to turn it over at that point. That means they may wear dirty clothes. They may run out of underwear. They may actually decide that it's easier to wear the same outfit every day for a week and not create such a big laundry load. Now, in our family, we did household chores on Saturday mornings, and people took turns using the washing machines. So Saturday was sometimes an easy day to just say to a child who hadn't washed their clothes in a while, hey, the laundry is free. Want me to help you bring it downstairs? Like, these are children. So we still offer support. And of course, if there's like an outing or a wedding or an event, make sure that child has washed their clothes in advance. Teach them how to look ahead to an event. Don't get mad at them. But here's what's incredible. I stopped doing so much laundry. And by the time my youngest was in 4th grade, I was only washing my clothes and my spouse's at the time. So laundry is a place where you could do some turning over. If you are uncomfortable with your kids doing laundry, you do have a partner and you have a full-time job. It's called homeschooling. Your partner likely has a full-time job. It's called the full-time job. There is zero reason that you should do all the laundry when there are 2 adults in the home. Alternate weeks. He does his own clothes, you do yours, or she does her own clothes, you do yours, but divide it up. Laundry should not take you such a huge chunk of your life. Second thing, we ate our lunches on one plate. We ate the same exact lunch for years. My kids actually were joking about it the other day in our WhatsApp chat. I made tortillas with beans and cheese on them. I cut them in triangles. These are like quesadillas with beans. And then I would put Trader Joe's salsa autentica and sour cream in the middle of a chip and dip bowl. And then I would just put these, triangles around it. And they would eat that every day because I wanted no decisions. And I only had one plate to clean. Now, your kids might eat something else, but there's no reason why, if you did sandwiches every day, that you don't just cut them in triangles, stack them on one tray, and everyone eats with one triangle. Okay. So what I'm saying is limit how much, cutlery and plates and dishes, all that stuff that you use. Sometimes it's helpful to use paper plates. Now, this is where some of you will not like hearing this because you care about the environment, and I do too. You could get recyclable materials. I understand that. But even if you don't believe in using them every day, you could certainly use them on your busier days. Keep a stock available for the days when you need to sneak some more time out of this limited 24 hours that you have. Give yourself a way. Yes, charcuterie boards for the win. That's right. Start thinking about what conserves time that you aren't currently considering, right? So we were a one plate, one meal kind of family for literally a decade. I mean, honestly, that was how we ate every single day. It was good. It was healthy. It was inexpensive. I'd cut up some orange slices. Boom, bada bing, we were done. Consider, if you need to, hiring help. Now, I could never afford help. So that's why I was a Fly Lady fanatic. And I made a rule for myself that the only thing I really cared about having clean on a daily basis was my kitchen sink. That's one of her standards. And it really did help me. We stopped cleaning up all day. I let things become like a weedy garden all day long. And we would clean up at 4, right before I parked my kids in front of the PBS channel while I made dinner. That was what worked for us. But sometimes what I find out from overwhelmed homeschoolers is that it's like a treadmill that you're on of constantly cleaning up. It is okay to leave plates on the table after breakfast and plates, unless it's where you do homeschool, but like to leave things out or to just clear them up and drop them in a soapy bath of water in the sink. Do not hold yourself to the kind of standards that you could when you were single. It's not livable, and it steals time from the things you'd rather do, which is where we're going next. So laundry, distribute it. Clean up once a day. Eat from a plate or a charcuterie board, one plate for the whole family. Allow for dishes to sit in a soaking sink. Don't clean them all up all day long. All right? And when we're talking about actually doing the school subjects, there is a too muchness there, but we're going to look at that in the next category now, which is doing the wrong things. Okay. Doing the wrong things. Oh, before I do that though, I just want to throw this little note in about doing too much. It is essential that you do something for yourself every day. It is, whether that's drinking your coffee while it's hot, eating a yogurt cup that is your favorite flavor and not sharing it with the baby or toddler, reading a passage from a book that inspires you to be a better person, playing your guitar, running for a mile or 2 outside, doing yoga. It's essential. I want to give you permission to skip a school subject to make that happen. So let's say you've got 6 subjects in the day, right? Math, English, grammar, spelling, social studies, French, or whatever you're teaching them, history. And I want you to just say, you know what? We're going to skip math today so I can have 30 minutes alone. We're going to skip writing on Thursday so I have 30 minutes alone. You need to prioritize something that nourishes you, because that is how you sustain the energy for everything that depletes you. And it doesn't have to be in the morning. It could be at bedtime. It could be at lunchtime. When my kids were young, that time for me was during nap time. I would lay on the couch and read a book while they napped. I did not go on a cleaning spree. I mean, yes, I did. Let's be honest. Of course I did sometimes. But I made a rule for myself that I tried to follow, that at least 30 minutes a day, I was doing something that really was pleasurable for me. And that will cut into your school time. So who cares? You got a ton of time. You have kids between the ages of 5 and possibly 18. Do you really think that if you take 30 minutes each day and you rotate out a subject so that you have time to do that, they're somehow not going to get an education? They are. And here's what they're not going to get: a burned out, annoyed, harried mother or father. Got it? Okay, good. So the second category then is doing the wrong things, doing the wrong things. So a show of hands, or you can just post yes inside the chat or no. How many of you, when you think about your homeschool, you feel like it really matches the vision that dances in your head? Say yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. Do you want to know why it doesn't match? Because you're doing the wrong things. How bold of me to say. Here are some of the wrong things that we do. We use a curriculum that does not inspire us. We teach in a way that was painful when we were children, but we think should still be taught because that's how school does it. We expect to do all the subjects in a day because that's how the school does it. In fact, the things that we want to do to have a great homeschool usually feel like electives. So for instance, you might be imagining like this party atmosphere around a book that you've been reading, but you feel like you don't get to have the party until you've done the copy work in the dart and the arrow for 4 weeks. And because you're overwhelmed and doing too much, you never get to the copy work. And so you don't reward yourself with the book party because you feel like you haven't earned it. Has anyone ever had that experience? What if we did it the other way around? What if you did the book party first? You introduce the book to your kids, you look at the book party materials, and you start talking to them. We're going to prepare for this book party every day a little bit so that when we get to the end of this month, we're ready for it. And it's going to be really fun. Or what if you feather in the activities throughout the month and you don't just wait until the end for this big bash? I mean, the activities in there could be done anytime. You could even conceivably throw the party before you've even read the book. Now, I'm not saying you should do that, but what I'm saying is, I know your fantasy is trying to get to the party, but we are such Puritans in the way we treat everything. We're like, unless I eat my vegetables, I don't get the ice cream. What if we just unbox that a little bit and we say, you know what, I really want this experience with my kids to be really exciting. Maybe what we'll do is we'll read the book aloud for the whole month. Then we'll do the party, and then we'll do the copy work and dictation and see what that feels like. Wouldn't that be interesting? Sometimes I think we focus too much on the feeling of eat your vegetables first. That's what I mean by doing the wrong thing. Someone said her kid never wants to do anything fun. Guess what? They have their own ideas about what fun is. So that's another way to avoid doing the wrong things. Ask your child, what would be your favorite way to spend today? I want us to include the book we're reading aloud. I want us to look at this one passage that's in this arrow that I have. But I would love to know beyond that, what can we do to make that interesting? Or what can we do differently than what you're used to that would make today kind of a cool day? We don't include our kids enough in that vision casting, and we can actually sort of involve them and ask them for their input. And maybe they don't have any because they don't trust you enough yet to believe that you would let them. You know, what if we flip the story one day and we just say, let's start with video games and end with the read aloud, right? Giving them some agency starts to create a little bit of momentum in the homeschool. I also feel like I'm wasting the money. Oh gosh, this is great. I want to finish it all before earning something. This is going to be in our believing beliefs that don't support us. So we're getting there. Here are some other things that are really tricky when we're talking about doing the wrong things. If you feel overwhelmed and you think there are no solutions and you don't see them, it means your imagination is shutting down. And when your imagination shuts down, there are no solutions, and the only alternative is grinding. One of the things I know about the creative process, whether it's art or writing, is that whenever I run out of ideas, I have to go back to research. I have to go back to that feeling of stirring up more ideas, more things to think about. So one of my suggestions for doing the wrong things, and the way you know you're doing the wrong things is you're miserable, the kids are miserable, everyone doesn't know what they're doing, and it doesn't feel good, is to just call off school, like for several days. Maybe you go to the library, you go to a park, you start actually scrolling through places like Pinterest, you go to your products that you love, and you just read them, and you let your mind, sort of like a fallow field, look for the seeds it wants to nurture. We cannot build from no resources. If you have used up all the timber, you got to go out and cut down some more trees. Can't build a house out of the air, right? So what an idea to think that your own imagination deserves to be seeded. Now, inside schools, they call these like teacher in-service days. Homeschoolers forget they deserve those. So just call it that. If you need to put it on your lesson plan or tell your charter school to say, I had a week of teacher in-service days where I was doing research and enjoying my children and playing games and allowing my imagination to be reignited. One thing I know about the Brave Writer products you already own is they are designed to stimulate your imagination. That's what they're designed to do. They are not your typical program that says, follow these steps and produce this outcome. They are literally hints and suggestions and imagined ideals for you to explore, test, and experiment with. So if your mind is going fallow, go back and read. We had someone ask the other day, she had a daughter who's really enjoying writing, and she wanted to know, should I buy partnership writing or building confidence? And as I was reading it, I started thinking, you know what? Sometimes it feels like the child doesn't want to do those activities that are inside the program because we come walking to the table with a book of activities. And then we say to our child, we're going to do activity 3. And that feels very much like a straitjacket. But what if instead you did purchase partnership writing? You never showed it to your kids. You kept it on your phone or your iPad, and you read it at bedtime like you're reading a novel. And you allowed the ideas to trickle into your mind. So for instance, in partnership writing, there's this one activity where you're building an island chain, a fantasy island chain. This is a project I did with my son, Liam. And you know, your daughter is like working on writing her own little novel. Well, wouldn't it be interesting the next day when you see her writing to sit next to her and just start doodling on a sheet of paper, a string of islands or a continent, and say, where's your thing taking place? I was wondering if it's a country or an island. I wonder what that looks like. And you actually just start living the idea around your child instead of introducing it as an assignment. We are doing the wrong things a lot of times just by the way we behave. We're coming into the room filled with an agenda, and boy, do our kids pick that up quickly. And then we announce that learning is going to be fun, the quickest way to kill everyone's love of learning. And then we expect them to follow the criteria. And we're literally like, I'm going to back up and show you, but we're like standing over the table like this. You know, I'll lift this up. You know, we're like standing over them and we're looking down and their head is like down here. And we're like, so see what it says? This is what we're supposed to do. And then we're like, gosh, it wasn't magical. My kid didn't enjoy that. And I can't figure out how to get them to do it. Here's what you want to do instead. You want to do the reading and the imagining and the seeding of your own imagination off stage. Our products are designed to coach you into a natural expression of all the things you want your kids to learn. Dawn and I were noticing the other day when we were on Instagram, how many people share Brave Writers stuff all the time and you never see the product. They're like, oh, my child just commented on commas. And you see a cute child in a book. And that's all you see. Oh, we're having a party celebrating Esperanza Rising. Look at these tortillas. And you see the book and tortillas. Then you see somebody else and they say, oh, we're working on this beautiful writing project. And you see the writing project, but you never see jot it down. Why is that? Because these are not workbooks. These are programs designed to reprogram how you think about literature, writing, and language arts. So that as you imbibe our words, our point of view, the ideas that we created, it starts to just flow from you with confidence and naturally. So that what your kids experience is kind of what my kids got from me. I didn't have my program, right? I was just living it. And now I've put my program in these products for you. But my kids didn't really resist writing. I mean, we had our moments because there were times when I got, sucked back into some schoolish expectation that I thought I was missing. But for the most part, they just lived. I would be walking along thinking, gosh, we just read about ancient Egypt. Oh, we got Mac Mall product catalog in the mail. And then I turn to my kids and say, you know what's funny? Can you imagine if all these embalming tools from ancient Egypt were in a mail order catalog like this? And the next thing you know, we're making a mail order catalog. with a bunch of embalming fluid and pyramids, and we're going through our books looking for ways to represent like the currency and the language and the descriptions and the drawings. Do you understand what I'm saying? So one of the things about those programs that you've all bought, or the classes that you've been in, because you're not in here if you haven't bought that stuff, is that it is a training program for you. It literally allows you to build the confidence you need to speak with authority, confidence, and joy, as opposed to hand-wringing trying to finish the lesson. Because trying to finish the lesson is doing the wrong thing. Does that make sense? You do not have to be spontaneous, but I would invite you to do the pre-imagining. So here's one of the cool things about having Dawn Smith as the director of our publications. She's got your back. She is not like me. I mean, she is in many ways, but she's like, Julie, our customers, some of them really need to quantify what's going on, and they need a tool to help them plan. So inside every single one of our products now, we have a skills tracker and a planning tool. And I want you to go find those. They're inside the guidelines for the Arrow. They're inside the product for Jot It Down, partnership writing. They're built in Growing Great Writers. And you can use those after you've read, after you've imbibed. And then you're like, well, you know what? I think I want to do this activity this week on these days, fill out the plan, and then look at the corresponding skills that they're learning and reassure yourself, I'm doing important work. And then you might have a more structured life than mine, but now you're going to, within that structure, show up differently. You're going to say to your kids, it's the morning. Tuesdays are when we do poetry tea time. I was realizing we were reading about ancient Egypt, and I found these hieroglyphs that make poetry. And so I thought for copy work today, it would be fun to copy hieroglyphs, right? But you've had days to think about it. And you're like, and there's this thing called secret codes in partnership writing, and it's kind of like hieroglyphs. And I thought it'd be really fun to do that. Someone get me a lemon, like come enriched, come enthusiastic, and it takes time. Yes, this works for 8th graders. It absolutely does. Here's why. 8th graders even more need you to come with confidence and resources, not with ambivalence and looking over their shoulder and pointing and hoping you understand it. When we do that, our older kids, they see the reality. They're like, oh, this isn't that important. My mom didn't even read it in advance, and she doesn't really know how it works. How important could it be? So for an 8th grader, seeing your investment level helps them imbue what you do together with importance. One of the things that I used to say about doing math with kids is start in the middle of the book. Hand the textbook to your child and say, I want you to page through this whole book and just put Post-it notes on the pages that you think look interesting. And so your child just goes through, puts a Post-it note on any page in the book, and then randomly open to one of those pages and say, without knowing anything else in this book, how would you approach this math idea? How would you approach this problem? And then if they don't know how, say, I wonder if we could just go back 2 or 3 pages and see if there's enough information there to figure it out. Do you see what I mean? We tend to go into it like linearly. We don't stimulate anyone's imagination. We don't challenge any critical thinking. We don't invite our kids to be curious. We just keep doing education to them. And that's doing the wrong thing. Okay, I want to get to believing beliefs that don't support you. Okay. Here are some beliefs that may not support you, and I'm going to read them. And I invite you, if you have a pen, to jot some of these down. But these are some of the controlling beliefs that I don't think serve us. I should teach all the subjects. I should teach all the subjects. How many of you believe that you're not really a good homeschooler if you outsource math, or you join a co-op, or you use a community college for your 16-year-old? You do not have to teach everything all by yourself. Number 2, I should have made a plan in advance. I mean, that was mine. I always thought, gosh, if I thought of it spontaneously, it didn't count. It had to be in advance. And one day I realized, wait a minute, I'm spending all this preparation time reading, thinking, imagining. When it finally comes out, I should get credit for it because it's amazing, right? So planning from behind is your best friend. Number 3, how many of you believe I should cover every subject every day for all my kids? Anybody? I think that is a myth left over from the ghost of public school past. So I want to liberate you right now. You could do science in the fall and history in the spring. You could choose to do math 3 days a week and copy work 2 days a week, or vice versa. There is no law that says all 6 subjects should be covered every day. When we're talking about doing too much, when you're adding things up, how many of you went to schools that had block periods and it would rotate? I did. I was in a school that did that. We'd have like these 2-hour classes in the afternoon and they would rotate. Sometimes a deep dive is so much more satisfying. You could spend the whole morning doing read aloud, poetry tea time, copy work, playing one of the activities from the book party club guide at the end of your arrow or dart, and then no math. And then the next day, do nothing. Don't do read alouds at all. Play a board game, do your math work, measure a bunch of things, get out the sewing machine, play video games, and check everybody's life points. Why couldn't you? This is homeschool. So if it helps you to sort of have block periods or block days, do it. You are the master over your domain. How many of you are under the false belief that your homeschool should be magical? Oh, who suggested that? I know her. I've met her. She's wearing pink right now. Yeah, that's me. That's me. So my goal in mentioning magic is to remind you that learning can be magical, but most of our lives are not magical. The thing that makes something magical is that it is set apart from the non-magic, right? Otherwise, if it's done all the time, it isn't magical. It would be like saying an airplane is magical. When an airplane first was developed, it was magical. Now it's like an annoying form of transportation we all rely on. So just know this. You can imbue a subject with magic, but it will dissipate because magic is temporary. It's fleeting. Remember how I said that inspiration is not a lengthy visitor? Your little ant lady inspiration shows up in a moment and disappears just as quickly. Most of your life is just going to be good enough. It's just going to be ordinary. It's going to be daily. And that's okay. When you start to feel the grind, now look for something magical to kind of wake you up, pull you out of the grind. See what I mean? So don't worry too much about that. It doesn't all have to be magical. Sometimes magic, by the way, is the easiest thing to do in the world. Let me give you the biggest trick for magic. Okay, get ready. Get ready. You want to know what it is? Physical touch. Physical touch. If you want to inject the math lesson tomorrow with better feeling, rub your child's shoulders before they start. Give them a hug. Rest your head on their shoulder. Tousle the toddler's hair. Put the 9-year-old in your lap for a moment. Physical touch is often the magic that's missing when we're in our very busy, do all the things, get it all done mode. Back rubs, fantastic. That's right. Very good. Very good. Okay, what else? Let's keep going here. Same thing goes for I should be able to turn any subject into play. Maybe not. Maybe it's too hard to. So you have one subject that's really dull and boring and you rely on workbooks because, I don't know, you're a limited human being who can't turn every subject into play. That's all right. Don't blame yourself. I think it's very difficult to turn everything into a game. So pick your battles and bring some love and magic into the things you can. And the rote things, support them with cookies and hugs and candles, okay? All right, let's see. I should be able to work full-time, be pregnant, and homeschool with creativity. No, that is not possible. that is too much. So here's what I like to say to these full-time working parents who homeschool also full-time. I don't know how you do it, but I am assuming there's another parent. If there isn't, that's a whole other story. And I just say, do the best you can and give yourself a ton of grace, because that's 2 full-time jobs trying to happen simultaneously with small children or big children. But if there's another spouse, everything has to be divided. If 2 people are full-time, then everything else has to be divided in half, including the homeschool. And I want you to really consider how that can be handled, which means using weekends and evenings. And that's okay. You can have kids just playing video games in the morning and doing writing in the evenings with the other parent. There's nothing wrong with that, but involve both parents so you don't burn out. For those of you who unschool, you might be under a belief that you shouldn't use curriculum. Unschooling means that you are not beholden to curriculum. Unschooling means that all resources are available for you to use to bring learning to life for your children. Another belief people have is I should follow the schedule provided in a textbook. Don't have to. Like I said, you can start in the middle, start at the end. You can set up any schedule that works for you. I should care more about being outside, not if you hate nature. Just because there are lots of those crunchy mamas online telling you to get outside doesn't mean you have to. I think a little outdoors is great, but you get to decide that for yourself. Maybe you think you should be a big reading aloud family. I had a friend who never read aloud to her children for their entire homeschool careers. To quote her, "I don't see how you guys had time. We were so busy doing science experiments." Different parent, different culture, different activities. Maybe you think you should be screen-free. You have pressure from, Waldorf or your church or from your parents, or your husband's a psychologist who hates screen time. Okay, be screen-free if you want. Don't be screen-free if you don't want. These are choices. They are not a moral judgment on you. Okay, here's the biggest one that I think we all get trapped by. If I've spent money on it, I have to use it. Here's the thing. You are doing research and development, R&D, the entire time that you're homeschooling. Sometimes the only way to know what works is to buy something that doesn't work. So the way I want you to think about your homeschool budget is that there is a certain percentage of what you spend that will look like waste in terms of its use, but it isn't wasted. It's R&D, research and development, helping you identify what does or doesn't work in your homeschool. It is never okay to make your child do a program that doesn't work or is painful just because you spent money on it. Think of it this way. Imagine you got your child a shirt that had hair all over it. The kid thought, oh, this will be really fun to wear. And you spend a lot of money on this shirt, this hair shirt. And they put it on and they start developing like a huge rash, skin rash. Would you keep making your child wear that shirt just because you spent money on it? You wouldn't. What you would do is learn never to buy a shirt made out of that material again for your child. And you would just chalk it up to a piece of clothing that didn't work for your child. I want you to have that same thought about your curriculum. Now, I do have a rule about programs, and here's what I want you to kind of keep in mind. When you buy something, there is usually one aspect of it that attracted you, right? So maybe it's, oh, it comes with complete lesson plans, or, oh, it's free. Or because sometimes even free things, we have a hard time getting rid of. Oh, it's free. Or all my friends are using it. Or this was picked for me by the co-op. Or like there's usually a reason. Maybe you were attracted to the way that it spirals, or the way that it progresses, or the beautiful colors on the page. What I want you to do when you get it is give it what I call the good college try. First, identify why you bought it. What is the key idea that made this meaningful to you? And if it's something like the strategy of how it teaches, be patient. Learn the strategy. Give it 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe a month. actually feel yourself get better at the strategy and say these words to your child. I really think this looks like a cool program. I'm a little uncertain how it works. Can we work on this for the next several weeks? I want your honest feedback, and let's together, because here's the thing that looked really cool about this program to me. This is what made me buy it. And so I'm going to need your feedback, and I want us to see if we can get to the goodie, get to the thing about it that made it worth buying. If you start that way with your child, what you're doing is you're inviting them to be a part of the research and development team. After all, they're the one who has to carry out the work. So ask for their feedback and clue them in to what was it that made you want to buy it. Now, here's one piece of accountability that does for you. If you say to your child, well, the reason we're doing this is because it was free, your child now sees that you aren't actually valuing their experience. You're valuing, I don't know, your budget. You're saying to your child, I don't really care what the content is, but it was free, so we're going to do it anyway. Or conversely, you might say, well, the lesson plans are perfect for me. Well, yeah, that's nice, but what's in it for the child? So I invite you to think about why you bought it and what's in it for your child, and then share all that with your child, and then give it a full test run. And, work on it multiple ways, multiple times a day, multiple attempts, because one attempt will not give you enough information. All right. So then the last thing I want to say is this. When we're talking about doing too much, doing the wrong things, and believing beliefs that don't support us, what we're basically saying is that we have erected a set of principles that are more oriented towards traditional schooling and less oriented towards the family that lives under our roof. And so I wanted to tell you what the right things are in parenting and homeschool that you can focus on. Make a checklist. This is for all of you. The first one is connecting with your children. That's number one priority. Rubbing their shoulders, making a snack, checking in to see how they feel, asking them what feels hard, asking them what feels easy, asking them to give you a review of a program that you're asking them to participate in, giving them freedom to modify the behavior of what the program says to suit them better. Right? So connect with your kids. Second, invest in learning over completing a lesson. So sometimes your kids are going to start working on a worksheet or doing a program, and they're going to already have gotten the lesson before they're done doing all the problems. They can stop. They can stop. You don't have to complete every page. You don't have to do every problem. Homeschoolers, I used to joke, homeschool children have never missed a single problem in math. Do you know why? Their mothers won't let them. We come back and say, oh, you missed this. Let's rework the problem. And while that's a nice thing to do, it's a luxury of homeschool. Sometimes it's nice to just miss a problem and get most of them right and move on and face it again the next day, not have to rework everything. So find the balance there somewhere. Third, pivot when the current plan isn't working. You have a right to do that. You don't owe it to the money. You don't owe it to the program or your community. Pay attention to what works in your family. Fourth, take breaks. I know one family that used to homeschool 5 weeks and then take a week off. And she loved it. She said that week was a chance for all of them to unwind and for her to reseed her imagination. Triangle in help whenever you need it. Maybe your toddler needs to go to preschool because it's like the Tasmanian devil. I know families who did that, and they homeschooled the other kids, and after preschool was over, that child rejoined them. There's no shame in that. Don't let anyone shame you out of that. Do the things that support you. I did a swap with one of my friends, Dottie from The Brave Learner. We lived in the same condo. I'd have her kids over for an afternoon so she could do a whole day, a whole afternoon of planning, and then vice versa. Make use of your people and be there for each other. And then lastly, return to the one thing principle, right? It never stops applying. Whenever things start to feel overwhelming, or you start doing the wrong things, or you notice you're believing beliefs that aren't supporting you, I want you to just start over and ask yourself, what is the one thing I secretly want to do that I keep not doing? It might be starting an exercise class for yourself. It might be learning a new recipe for lunch, or it might be trying a different math program. It might be prioritizing time with your toddler because you keep thinking about your sixth grader and your toddler doesn't get to sit in your lap and read books anymore. And so now you're going to tell that sixth grader, an hour a day, you're on your own. I am giving this toddler attention, right? Like that. One thing at a time. Do the thing that's nagging at you, and it will release energy for all the things. Well, that is today's talk.